Well, there you have it. The first tick on the index is in the green, but very quiet, really.
So we're currently down close to about 0.25% on the Nifty and the Sensex.
Good afternoon. For the markets, it continues its downtick. So we are sitting with cuts of around 36 points on the Nifty.
The supports come in about 100 points away from where we are on the Nifty, which is 18,464. We started around 18,600, slipped a little bit, and we're there. So there's not very much going on. 18,619 is where we are at, and we're going to basically have a slightly higher close. Bank Nifty will come up on your screen. The big standout loser was the IT index.
Hello and welcome to Markets Today, the show where we track about 6 hours of the day's trading action in 5 headlines. I'm Reema Tendulkar, and these are the headlines for the day. The Sensex and Nifty end flat after a late recovery. Mid-cap index ends in the green for the 12th consecutive session. IT index logs its worst fall in 2 months. This is after US software company EPAM trims its growth outlook. Cement stocks gain after JK Cement inks a deal to buy Toshali Cements. Fresh reports of a likely deal for Sanghi Cement adds to hopes of more consolidation ahead. The Nifty Auto Index gains over 1%. Tata Motors, M&M, TVS Motors, Force Motors all trade at 52-week highs. Meanwhile, BHEL tumbles 2% after a downgrade from Nomura. IEX slips close to 4% as prices decline in the month of May. Foreign investors are showing unprecedented levels of interest in India, says Morgan Stanley's Ridham Desai, adds that many stocks are at attractive valuations, but index returns are likely to be a little modest. And here's a lineup of what we have for you in store today. It's a packed show in Market Opinion. Abhilash Narayan of Standard Chartered Bank and Ridham Desai of Morgan Stanley. In Big Corporate Voices, we have Ganesh Mohan, CEO, Bajaj Finserv Asset Management Company. Straight to the market action then. The Sensex and the Nifty managed to recoup losses in late trade to end flat. The mid-cap index, though, saw some marginal gains, ending in the green for the 12th consecutive session. IT stocks took a beating, with the IT index down over 1.5%. Prashant is here with a wrap.
All day, the market did not do very much. It was a grinding kind of price action. But in the last 30 minutes, things perked up. That 3 p.m. factor move always comes through nowadays. And today was no different. Big sharp move. There was a Fin Nifty contract expiring. That's Tuesday expiry. Perhaps something to do with that. I'll get to stocks there from the financial space in just a bit. The IT index was under pressure, and there was a clear standout kind of mover on the downside, though. Tech Mahindra, TCS, Infosys, large cap IT losers, persistent emphasis, Coforge, Science, Zensar Tech, and many others which came under profit booking. There was a global IT company which issued a profit warning, and the IT stocks here saw some money being taken off the table. Large caps, Axis and Kotak perked up in the last 30-40 minutes of trade, providing that fillip. UltraTech and Grasim from the cement space, large caps, and autos have looked good for a while now. Maruti, Tata Motors, Hero MotoCorp are some of the names which did well. Broader markets, advanced decline was positive earlier. Mid-afternoon, it slipped into the negative. By close, it was back in the green. More advances as compared to losers, and really rich and varied move once again. Suzlon, Aegis Chemicals, HPL Power, Nelco, Sharda Cropchem, Angel One, just to give you an example of flavor of the kind of moves, and it doesn't fall into this or that bucket, and it's pretty varied. Mahindra CIE, Force Motors, Railtel, JSW Energy, Shakti Pumps, ADF Foods, Nucleus, and so on and so forth. It's a long list, and I'm just, by the way, sticking with stuff which had large volumes. So once again, the action is not in the top 50, it's not even in the top 100, it's the 101st to the 300 stock, which are seeing a lot of the price action. Markets, at least on the indices, seem to be in a bit of a wait-and-watch mode, and I think it's been clear on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty for the last several days now. RBI decision day after tomorrow, and I think markets will want to wait to hear from the RBI in terms of the decision and what it wants to do in terms of future policy direction as well. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. The National Stock Exchange has revised the weekly options expiry for the Nifty Bank's contracts to the Friday of every week. NSE said the decision was based on feedback from market participants. Earlier, all weekly options contract expired on Thursday. This will take effect from the 7th of July, and the first Friday expiry will be on the 14th of July. Moving on, in market opinion, Abhilash Narayan of Standard Chartered Bank believes that there is more upside for Indian equities in the next 12 to 18 months. Listen in.
Well, we think that there is more upside to Indian equities over the next 6 to 12 months. So we think that Indian equities should definitely outperform global equities going ahead. And, the underlying drivers are well known. We think that earnings growth will remain robust. So we are looking at over 15% earnings growth for FY24.
Let's now get to the second headline for the day, and that's the Nifty IT index fell nearly 2% with stocks like Tech Mahindra, Infosys, TCS closing with deep cuts. This came after US software giant EPAM trimmed its growth outlook. Now, EPAM is a fairly large global company. Its revenues were about $4.8 billion last year, and this company was growing at a very fast clip. Last year, the company's growth rate was close to about 32%. But in the month of February, when they came out with their full year numbers, the company said that in calendar year 2023, we're going to be growing 9%. Then in May, when the company reported their Q1 numbers, they said, well, 9% looks a bit difficult. This time, we're going to be doing closer to 3% this year. But exactly 1 month later, yesterday, the company in a mid-quarter guidance, an unscheduled guidance, said that even 3% now looks a bit difficult. In fact, this year, we're going to degrow. And growth could now be closer to minus 2%. They've given a range of minus 0.5 to minus 3.5%. Now, this took the street by surprise, right? What changed in a span of 1 month for the company to lower their revenue guidance by close to about 5%? Because in May, they said growth could be closer to 3%. Now we're looking at a minus 2%. The company in the statement did indicate that, clients are turning far more cautious, a little more cautious when it comes to their spending. They also indicated that the conversion from the deal pipeline to the revenue is taking some time. The deal pipeline itself has gotten a tad bit shrunk. So that's the statement which is coming in from the company. Now, the Indian IT companies and the investors are clearly a worried lot. We saw a decline in the share prices across the board. But here you need to remember is that EPAM gets a lot of its revenues from discretionary products, while Indian IT companies have a balance between discretionary and cost optimization, the maintenance kind of projects. So in that sense, the impact of the budget cuts in discretionary may not be felt to the same extent in India. But, we will have greater clarity when the Q1 numbers begin, and that's from the 12th of July when TCS reports their numbers. But that's about IT and the big fall that we had. The third headline for the day, cement stocks rallied as JK Cement acquired Toshali Cement, marking its entry into East India. There are also reports that the deal is likely for Sankey Industries. Nigel is here with more.
Well, that's right. Cement stocks had a good day, and there were two big pieces of news that played out. One was, after a long while, we're hearing about consolidation. So there was one deal that was announced where JK Cement, they've gone ahead and they bought Toshali Cements for around 157 crore rupees. Now, this was viewed favorably. Remember, it's a small asset, a couple of assets actually in Odisha, and the rough EV per ton works out around $30 per ton. The positives are that the units that they bought are functioning, and also it marks their entry into East India. There'll be a couple of conditions, though, that need to get fulfilled, but the management says within 6 months that's likely to be done. The other factor was that reports indicate that Sankey Industries is getting a fair bit of demand, both from RIDMA as well as JK organization, though we here at CNBC-TV18 haven't confirmed this. But the good news is that after a while, we're hearing about consolidation yet again for the industry. The other factor that played out is the energy cost. Well, that's been dipping lower, and that's going to be a tailwind for FY24. Pet coke prices, they're $50 to $60 lower in comparison to the past quarter or even comparison to quarter 3 FY24. Coal prices as well are nearly a half of what they were in the corresponding quarters, and even lower by close to around $30 in comparison to quarter 4 FY23. So that's good news. The benefits are likely to flow through in the second quarter of this year. For the first quarter, prices really haven't been moved, and you also have high cost inventory, so that's what will hurt them. Jeffrey says that the EBITDA per ton, they're expecting it to improve by around 200 to around 220 rupees per ton in FY24. While you have Axis Capital, they have come out of the note, they're expecting the EBITDA per ton to jump up by close to around 25%. So to sum things up, prices haven't moved that much, but volumes are expected to see traction heading into an election year, and also lower input cost will drive profitability for these companies.
Thank you for that. Let's move on and talk about Bajaj Finserv. That's become the latest entrant in the mutual fund space. The financial services company launched its mutual fund business today. It will start rolling out products in the next 30 days. Ganesh Mohan, CEO of Bajaj Finserv Asset Management Company, told my colleague Yash Jain that they are seeing a lot of opportunities in that space. Listen in to a slice of that conversation.
We are at a time where SEBI is tightening norms around expense ratio, where markets are at all-time high levels. Also, on the debt side, indexation benefits have been taken away. Does the time throw more challenges at you rather than opportunities, or do opportunities still dominate challenges as you enter the space?
So from our perspective, we see a lot of opportunity in this space, right? If you look at the number of investors, unique investors in this market would be about less than 4 crores, right? That itself can significantly expand in the coming years. If you look at the kind of product opportunities as well, we believe that using our differentiated investment approach, we can bring differentiated products as well into this marketplace. And we believe that in the long term, we want to build this business to be one of the leading ones in the country. And we believe that there is a significant long-term market opportunity over here. We're not building this business for the short term, so the timing is always right to launch this business.
By talking about your ambition to be one of the leading mutual fund companies in the industry, you've sort of cued me to my next question. I won't ask you, and I understand it's the first day you announced the launch in terms of targets on AUM side, but I want to understand from you, and there's a very important statistic to support my question, which is that 75 to 80% of the funds sort of go to the top 8 or 10 mutual fund companies. What is your target in terms of you taking a place in the top 8 or 10 in terms of time target?
So we would like to be one of the leading players in the long term in this business. That said, we are obviously just starting at this point, so it's very early to be able to give any kind of a target as to when that will be. I think probably a year down the road, we would probably have a better sense of what the market reaction is, the kind of products, channels, as well as geographic responses that we are seeing, and then would be a better time for us to be able to give you a specific target that we have in mind.
Time for a short break on that note, but stay tuned. We'll be back in a jiffy with the other headlines.
CNG is good, but to get something, you have to give up something.
OMG! It's CNG! Big boot, big appeal, big reaction. OMG! It's the Altroz iCNG. नई कार तुमने कार इंश्योरेंस खरीदा होगा एगो ऐप से नहीं
आपको नहीं तो
कोई बात नहीं मूर्ति गलतियां होती रहती हैं कोई जरूरत नहीं है चेक करने नहीं मूर्ति नई कार खरीदने से पहले एगो चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। कहा देश का सबसे बड़ा पावर प्लांट बनाना इम्पॉसिबल, तो हमने पॉसिबल कर दिया। बोला कोने कोने तक बिजली पहुंचाना किसी के बस की बात नहीं, हमने पहुंचा दी। सवाल उठे एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली गैस सब तक कैसे पहुंचेगी? हमने वो भी पहुंचा दी। कहा तो ये भी गया पैकेज फूड बिजनेस हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, लेकिन हमने कर दिखाया। बातें उठी सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। और जब कहा गया देश के एयरपोर्ट्स इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के नहीं हो सकते, तब भी हमने सुना नहीं, कर दिए। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते, हम करके दिखाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
अभी और कितने चक्कर लगाने पड़ेंगे सर जी?
आप इतनी सी बात क्यों नहीं समझते सर जी? आप हमारा ध्यान रखो, हम आपका ध्यान रखेंगे।
ओह।
9501-200-200 ये तो
एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
मैडम जी आप बेकार में परेशान हो रहे हो। मैं कराता हूँ ना 2 दिन में आपका काम। आप तो बस चढ़ावा चढ़ा देना, घर बैठे आ जाएगा आपका लाइसेंस। आपको ड्राइविंग टेस्ट की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी।
पक्का?
पक्का जी पक्का।
तो आपने एक नंबर लिखिए, जब बन जाएगा तो उस पे कॉल करिएगा। 9501 200 एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
अगर आपसे भी कोई रिश्वत मांगे तो कॉल करें 9501-200-200। एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन से पिछले 1 साल में अब तक 300 से ज्यादा भ्रष्टाचारी गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं। पंजाब में रिश्वत लेने वालों की अब खैर नहीं।
पंजाब के लोगों को ये संदेश देना चाहता हूँ, पंजाब को भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त बनाना हमारा वादा ही नहीं, गारंटी है।
डायबिटीज कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने इतने स्टेप्स उठाए।
नो थैंक्स।
तो हमने भी आपके लिए एक कदम बढ़ाया। बजाज आलियांज लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रेजेंट्स डायबिटिक टर्म प्लान, इंडियाज ओनली टर्म प्लान एक्सक्लूसिवली डिजाइन फॉर डायबिटिक्स। ये प्लान आपको हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल अपनाने पर रिन्यूअल प्रीमियम्स पे रिडक्शन देता है। समझो हो गया।
Welcome back. You're watching Markets Today, the show where we track, the day's market action in 5 headlines. We ran you through the top 3 headlines, and these are headline number 4 and 5. The auto space, Motown has been the top sector in terms of movers. A whole host of stocks have hit their record highs. The Nifty Auto Index has gained over 1% today. Sonia joins in with the key reasons why the auto space and stocks are racing ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And as you rightly pointed out, so many auto companies from the Nifty components are at fresh 52-week highs. There's Tata Motors, there's M&M, TVS Motor, and from the broader market, something like Force Motors is sitting at fresh 52-week highs. And I was mapping the gains that we saw since the start of the year. The year-to-date gains are pretty handsome for many of these companies. So for Tata Motors, for example, it's the biggest Nifty gainer this year, up about 42%. Bajaj Auto is up 30% this year. Maruti is up about 16%, and M&M is up 13%. Now, we all know that auto sales for the month of May have been pretty strong on the wholesale front, but the Federation of Automobile Dealers Association of India recently came out with the retail numbers as well, and overall for the industry, there's a 10% growth that we've seen in the auto sales numbers in May. So a double-digit growth is back after many months of a lull or a single-digit growth. You continue to see a single-digit growth in spaces like passenger vehicles and two-wheelers, but commercial vehicles are back in a big way for the industry. Apart from that, in the passenger vehicle industry, there are a few things which are working for them. Improved availability of vehicles, strength of pending orders, and robust demand for new launches. In the month of June alone, there are several new launches in the passenger vehicle space. From the listed arena, there's the Maruti Suzuki Jimny that will be launched. It's the competitor to the Thar, so a lot of interest over there. There are also a whole host of others. There's the Honda Elevate, the Volkswagen Virtus, the Taycan, and the Mercedes AMG as well. For Tata Motors, as we know, the JLR retail sales have been improving from April onwards, and then they signed that $1.6 billion deal for a battery EV plant in Gujarat as well. So lots of positives for the auto sector. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Sonia. IQ Lighting opened its initial public offering today with a price band at 270 to 285 rupees per share. The IPO consists of a fresh issue worth 350 crore rupees and an offer for sale up to 90 lakh shares by the promoters. Surbhi joins in with more on this new kid.
Thanks for that. So IQ Lighting issue opened today and they're looking to raise somewhere around 600 crores, of which 350 crores is the fresh issue and the remaining is the offer for sale. The price band for this particular issue is in the range of 270 to 285 rupees per share, and the implied market cap comes up to 2,200 odd crores. Now they are going to use the 200 crores of the 350 crores to set up a new facility in Uttar Pradesh, and they are going to use 50 crores towards the repayment of debt. Now a little bit about the company. IQ Lighting is an ODM, which is an original design manufacturer player providing LED lighting solutions. The company's products are categorized into LED lighting, refrigeration lighting and ABS piping. But currently over 90% of their revenues comes from LED lighting solutions. They have 4 manufacturing facilities, and their largest customer is Signify Innovations, which is previously known as Philips India. As of March 2022, they have an order book of 86 crores. Now, in the 9-month FY23 period, they have done a revenue of 241 crores with an EBITDA margin of 21% and a PAT of nearly 35 crores. Moving on to the valuations, IQ Lighting is valued at FY23 PE of 50 times versus the recently listed players of like Avalon and Syrma SGS, which are valued at 49 times and 57 times FY23 PE respectively. Kaynes Technology, another recently listed EMS player, is however valued much higher at 86 times FY23 PE. So IQ Lighting is right in the middle of these 3 recently listed EMS players.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about IEX. That tumbled over 3% as the company disappointed with its latest operational update. The problem was pricing. Pricing for the month of May declined by 30% on a year-on-year basis due to the improving supply side scenario. Vivek joins in with more.
Well, IEX was the stock in focus given the fact that the company updated the exchanges on the operational performance as far as the month of May was concerned. While overall volumes jumped up almost 8% on a year-on-year basis, pricing was quite subdued, down almost 30% on a year-on-year basis. Now, what the company says is that the prices have fallen on account of improved supply-side liquidity, and this is on the back of the fact that the company says that there have been significant enhancement as far as coal supply is concerned. The company also says that there has been significant reduction as far as e-auction coal pricing is concerned, and also pricing has fallen on the back of consistently declining imported coal as well as gas prices. On the back of this development, IEX was subdued in today's trading session, given the fact that the management commentary at this point of time remains quite subdued.
Vivek, do stay with us because BHEL slipped over 2%. Nomura today downgraded the stock. They lowered the target price to 61 rupees. And I think I read somewhere that BHEL's operating cash flow turned negative in FY23, and that's been a point of concern. Now, you've been tracking this stock closely. Tell us what you've made of what Nomura had to say.
BHEL was one of the top laggards in trade today. There was a note from Nomura today morning where the brokerage house went ahead and downgraded the stock to a reduced rating and also cut the target price to 61 rupees a share. What Nomura says is that while there has been improved thermal tender pipeline which has gone ahead and raised ordering prospects, however, they believe that the weak operating cash profile that the company suffers from is something that is offsetting all of the positives. In fact, they believe that the rising debtors are impacting the cash flows, and what they've gone ahead and done, they've gone ahead and cut the EBITDA estimates by 13% for FY24 and by 4% for FY25. This is in order to factor in for the delayed order inflow as well as the weak margin profile that BHEL currently suffers from. They also say that the operating cash flow has turned negative in FY23 with a substantial rise as far as contract assets are concerned. So on the back of that, recent order wins appear aggressive. They also allude to the fact that for the Vande Bharat order, BHEL had to go ahead and reduce its bid amount, thereby making it very tough for the company to go ahead and make substantial returns from that particular order. So limiting the scope of gross margin recovery is something that Nomura highlights. On the back of that, they went ahead and downgraded the stock.
Thank you for that. Let's get to the fifth and the final headline. Morgan Stanley's Ridhan Desai says foreign investors are showing unprecedented levels of interest in India. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, he also said that he expects the rural economy to recover in the next 3 months, adding that it's inevitable that rural India starts flourishing too.
I think in 3 months from now, you should see pretty good signs of a rural recovery. So the seeds have been sown. Coming out of COVID, rural India actually took it on the chin. Urban had led the recovery, and now it's spreading to rural India. It's inevitable that rural India starts flourishing. So I am actually quite constructive on rural India, and in fact, in our recommended portfolio of stocks, we have a lot of rural players in there because we think that they should do quite well over the next 12 to 24 months. India is entering into a pretty sustainable investment phase because in a lot of sectors we have not added capacity in the last 10 or 12 years and capacity utilization is rising. So that again supplements the case for a loan boom. So we should experience pretty much higher credit growth than what we have seen in the last decade. Not at the level which we saw in the first decade of this millennium, but much stronger than what we've seen in the last decade. Because in the first decade of this millennium, the starting point was even lower. Corporate debt to GDP was just 25%. Today that number is about 50, down from around 62, 63. I think by the time we are done and dusted with this cycle, this number will go into the 80s.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets Today. Thank you very much for watching.